Hi, my name's Scott, Rob Scott, and for today's mission, I'm joined by William Rubio from CallTower and Thomas John from Five9. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Scott. Thank you very much for having us on today.
Thanks. Great to see you both. And to start our discussion, let me introduce today's mission brief and first of all, highlight its importance. I mean, this year, IT and CX leaders are actively exploring next generation tools like generative AI to enhance employee productivity, dig into their data like never before, and provide exceptional customer experiences. So couple these trends with the mass adoption of Microsoft Teams, this presents a huge opportunity for business leaders to transform the way we communicate with customers and colleagues. So in today's session, I'd like to delve into the different types of Microsoft Teams users in organizations who need these special agent type skills. Now, akin to a James Bond mission, let's investigate this trend and explore how Teams empowers these individuals to excel in their roles. So Agent Rubio, Agent John, do you accept this mission?
Affirmative.
Accepted.
Fantastic. Okay. Firstly, William, going to go to you first on this one. How is Microsoft Teams, acting as Q in the modern office, equipping employees with next generation tools to enhance customer experience?
Yeah, Agent Scott, I think it's no surprise to anybody that with the adoption and just the launch of Microsoft Teams over the past 4 or 5 years, I think about 4 or 5 years already that Microsoft Teams has been around. It's really been transformable as far as what it's really done from a collaboration standpoint overall. And I think when you look at the role that Microsoft Teams kind of plays in the day-to-day lives of all of our business interactions that we have, it's really, the goal is really to kind of be at the basis, kind of that core platform that everything else could really kind of add on overall to really just enhance the solutions for each one of the employees on a daily basis. So I think Microsoft has done a really good job of just trying to be that core platform and then letting organizations like CallTower and our partnership with Five9 really add in a lot of that customization to really make sure to enhance that customer experience overall. So really great to see that Microsoft is at the forefront of it overall and then letting the experts like Five9 and CallTower really go in and enhance those customer experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Thomas? From Five9 perspective, how's this playing out for you?
Yeah, Rob, I think William just nailed it. It's a ratio that if you're in the industry, you're very familiar with, which is to every one contact center seat, there is 10 UC seats in an enterprise. So that's a 100-seat contact center. Well, that's usually 1,000 enterprise employee company. And in order for the contact center, which we call the front office, to deal with the customer's complaint or problem, well, the back office is pivotal and communication with the back office becomes mission critical. And then when you multiply that with the fact that 80% of Europe, depending on which analyst you ask, is a Microsoft Teams environment, well, suddenly the partnership between Five9 and CallTower is crucial in delivering CX. So that's probably my opinion on it in a nutshell.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here. But I mean, first of all, William, could you tell us a little bit about the different office worker personas and how each one of those might be leveraging these special agent abilities in their roles?
Yeah, I think when you look at the evolution of Microsoft Teams and what it's really done, it kind of started out as it was just a blank license, right? A blanket license for everybody. And then they came with their frontline workers. And then they started to add this thing called persona, right? Which everybody's like, well, what really is that and what is it really doing? And the great thing about something like that is that it really helps focus and target all the different business units within an organization, right? So the needs of somebody in marketing are completely different than the needs of somebody that's running a support center or somebody that might be in collections, right? In finance, as an example. So I think that they did a pretty good job of really trying to target and focus on what feature functionalities within Microsoft Teams works well depending on the different organizations or business units within the organizations. And just recently, Microsoft has really done a big push with their Microsoft Premium license, which really kind of enhances more of the, starting to talk a little bit more about the AI and even kind of just some general webinar type of enhancements, their avatars and so forth, and just getting ready to release their Copilot, which even enhances that even more. So they're really trying to dive into not that it's going to be a specific, just blanket license for everybody, but really diving into to make sure that they're providing the right feature functionality based on your roles and your responsibilities on a daily basis. And they've really taken a different role there, or a different direction than all the other previous UCaaS type of platforms that have been out there. So it's kind of interesting to see where that's going. And then, and I'm probably jumping the gun here, but where AI is going to be going to that here in the next few years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Thomas, from a Five9 perspective, being a CCaaS, platform, I suppose, there's a lot more than just there's a lot more people involved in customer communications nowadays, right? I mean, it's not just the agent in the contact center. Would you agree?
Couldn't agree more with you. And you know me, Rob. I'm full of stories, right? I want to tell you one in 30 seconds. The founder of Wynn hotel chain, which William will know in Las Vegas, the Wynn Group, and you'll know, was once challenged in a seminar as to who the most important person in his company is. You got to imagine the pressure he's under there, because he's got his C-suite, he's got his chief financial officer, all the way down to what we call hotel staff operationally, sitting in the room. And he actually said, I don't have the answer for that right now. I'll come back to you later. And about half an hour later, he pointed to the direction of the door and he said, actually, the bellboy is the most important person. And they were a bit, sorry, but he's the next person that's going to deal with a customer. He's the next person that's going to open that door, take that customer or that patron in through the hotel lobby and to the front desk. And so that's suddenly the mindset of the question you just asked me is this. You're absolutely right. When someone calls a contact center, and I'm making up a use case, but they're not made up, it's arbitrary use case. I'm calling my mobile operator. My bill hasn't been issued and they've cut me off. Now the contact center agent can take that call, but he or she would have to contact the back office finance to say, look, is Agent Rob's bill paid? And so suddenly a conversation on Teams with presence helps to make the first call resolution a lot more higher. Now, by the way, it's not just that. The guy could say, I want a mobile phone. I want a new one. Well, suddenly you have to contact stock or inventory and say, do we have any more iPhone 14s to send to Rob? So suddenly you've got the whole enterprise working together to provide first call resolution. So it's probably the way we're going to get to the age-old, I think the land of milk and honey is to actually solve the customer's problem the first time round.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this as a big trend over the past year, haven't we? This kind of fusing of UCaaS and CCaaS technologies and platforms and vendors. And so I suppose this takes me nicely into my next question. I mean, William, how does the kind of integration of UCaaS and CCaaS in Microsoft Teams, really set the stage for a more kind of unified and efficient customer service experience?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think first and foremost, when you're looking at deploying a Microsoft Teams platform overall with voice, and then the second question, at least that we get, is what can we do on the CCaaS side? And that's where we did the partnership with Five9 several years ago, and it's been a great partnership with Five9. But it's really making sure that you're integrating a UCaaS and a CCaaS solution that, number one, is already battle tested, and number two, that a customer knows that they could work with an organization like CallTower and Five9 together that have gone to battle together, right? Have gone to war or behind the scenes as a special agent overall. And I think that that's really important, because when you look at today's CIO and today's director of IT and manager of IT, just kind of like in the example that Thomas John gave, they're being pulled in multiple different directions, right? Marketing needs one thing, support needs another thing, finance needs another thing, sales needs another thing. And now all of a sudden they're relying on more like organizations like CallTower and Five9 to deliver services so that they can really focus on the growth of the organization. And it's really critical. And that bundling of that solution of UCaaS and CCaaS and really having that CX experience overall, I think, is very critical. So it's really great to see that these organizations are working together and making sure that the right support and that the technology on the back end is working well.
And Thomas, you must see this a lot from Five9's perspective, having, I suppose, deploying contact centers left, right, and center with Microsoft in Microsoft Teams environments. How important is it to for Five9 to be truly integrated into that Teams environment?
Yeah, it is, Rob. And the phrase "stay in your lane" is, let's just say, a mantra that we use from Mike Birkland, our CEO, to Dan, to Dan Berglund to Nick Dellis to Jake, but all our leaders recognize that actually, you know what, Microsoft do what they do pretty good. So Five9, we don't really want to develop a UCaaS. Well, William Rubio and CallTower can do exactly that through Teams. So, and you both know how complex the contact center is when it comes to call routing and AI. We're going to talk about that in a bit. And I can name 7 or 8 different other facets that we want to focus in on. And so suddenly, we've also seen the evolution, by the way, we've all been in the industry long enough where it was called OCS and then Skype for Business and then Link. And now today it's Teams. And it's actually mission critical that they talk to each other and that the agents, presence to presence interoperability is a powerful, and I know I'm speaking in acronyms here, so if everyone wants to know what that means, contact us and we'll talk to you about just how powerful a tool that is in the hands of Five9 and CallTower to provide customer service at an excellent level.
Excellent. So I know we're going to talk about agent experience in a moment, but I'm keen to just firstly understand kind of how we use technologies like AI, even generative AI in the customer service process. First of all, William, any experience there, real world examples that you can tell us about in terms of kind of how this might improve the actual customer experience and kind of customer service process, if you will?
We've been getting a lot of questions over, I'd say, the last year on, I want AI, right? That's kind of the first question when we get an inquiry in, and we say, well, great. Well, how do you want to use it? And then the response is, well, I don't know, but I just want it, right? That's what we're going to get. We kind of chuckle on that on the back end. It's been kind of an internal joke that we've had for a while. But I think when you look at AI is obviously going to be very critical over the next several years. And I think just ongoing, it's obviously here to stay. Where we've seen the adoption of AI from our end, whether it be on Microsoft Teams or even more in a CCaaS type of environment with Five9, is what can it do for some of the processes that I already have in place, the analytics, and what algorithms I can run in the back end and leverage AI to really get me from point A to point B on a quicker level, right? So a good example, when we start talking about different things like intelligent virtual agents overall, which is a big thing, and I know Thomas John that's dear to his heart overall. But when you look at that and you look at what Five9 has really done overall in the past few years with something like that, it's great. It's something that I want. It basically can look at augmenting my tier 1 support, as an example, if I'm using an IVA license in that situation. And then what happens when I start to get those calls in and I see that I have bottlenecks when those calls are coming in that maybe my customers are zeroing out right after pressing option 3 several different times. Before, you kind of had that manual intervention that you would have to have a lot of specialists look at that really kind of understand those call flows and so forth. And you still have that today. But with AI, you could actually leverage that to basically give you that customer insight overall and kind of say, you know what, when we hear this word or that word and the customer is zeroing out, it's because of this reason. And I think that AI is going to start doing that, not just in a contact center, but it's going to be doing that across all of our lives, whether it be personal or whether it be in the business world, and just really kind of help us get from point A to point Z, I should say, sooner than later overall. So we're excited about where it's going. We've seen it leverage with a lot of our customers within the Five9 capabilities. And I just think it's really going to be transformational here over the next few years.
And Thomas, how essential is AI in the, I suppose, contact center process mix nowadays? What's your view?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a fascinating subject, Rob, because to William's point, it's such a buzzword. And if we're not careful, we'll sort of almost relegate it to future technology and not explain its purposes that it's actually doing right now across contact centers and always has been. A little bit of an urban myth or slash the media took hold of, well, that's it, the robots are taking over in reference to AI, right? And so what happened was a lot of our contact centers, not just us, but all CCaaS vendors' share prices took a hit because it's like, well, what do we need them for? Because, well, robots are taking over. And so what Mike Berglund, the analogy he used to our investors, analysts, and to the market is, well, AI is just another engine running the plane. The plane's still going to be there. You still need contact center agents. You'll still need voice, outbound and all. AI is just a powerful engine that, number one, Rob, augments the agent's experience. It actually helps an agent with analytics. And we've got eight product lines across AI, saying to the agent and equipping them with the information and data at the press of a button to handle that call a lot better. That's number one. And the second part is, well, actually, all those high volume, low value calls that actually there is large human error in anyway, so the high volume, low value calls, well, AI can take that. To William's point, the interactive virtual agent or a bot can handle those monotonous, repetitive tasks, leaving the human to do what us human, hopefully, as special agents can do best, which is empathy and compassion and, of course, following your theme, completing the mission at hand, Rob.
Fantastic. I like that. Well, I mean, when CallTower, Five9, and Microsoft Teams get together, how is this a differentiated offering? William, over to you.
Yeah, I think the partnership first and foremost, when you look at what Microsoft and Five9 did, Microsoft and Five9 were kind of one of the first, or I should say Five9 was one of the first CCaaS solutions to actually integrate successfully, right? Because there's been some that have integrated unsuccessfully, but to really successfully integrate with Microsoft Teams and making sure that there's presence across the Five9 platform within Microsoft Teams and vice versa. And they just continue to add more investment, more R&D into the solution so that it looks very seamless. And going back to an example that Thomas John made earlier, when you look at it, you have that agent sitting there that first they're reaching out to collections, and then they're reaching out to logistics, and now they're probably going to have to reach out to sales if that individual wants to buy a new mobile device. There's a lot of different interactions that are taking place in there, and I just think that it's been battle tested. And what CallTower has been able to do to kind of stick ourselves in there is making sure that a customer understands the feature functionalities within Teams, provide that support, and provide that training, not just for Microsoft Teams, but how to leverage Five9 within a Microsoft Teams solution. And I think that that's really a big differentiator, because one thing is you could buy something off the shelf, right? You could buy Microsoft Teams within one of your licenses. You can't buy it individually, but you could buy it within your E3, your E5 license, et cetera, that it kind of comes into it. And then what do I do with it? How do I leverage Five9 to make sure that I'm getting the full features so that my agents, that my employees understand how to use it, and they get some instant gratification as well, right? They want to make sure that they have the right tools to help their customers when they're calling in, whether it's for a new order or where's the status of my order, or what's my bank account balance, different things like that they have those right tools right at their fingertips to help their customers overall. So it's a great integration together, and we've seen the success of the combination helping organizations on the SMB side, in mid-market, and even on the enterprise side as well.
That's great. And Thomas, UCaaS and CCaaS coming together, it really is. What's it look like from your perspective?
This is why I love working with William on these kind of vlogs and interviews, because I could probably just say, yeah, I agree with everything William just said. But I'll add a little flavor to it. And it's actually my favorite question so far, Rob, that you've asked me, because, and look, I'm so excited and so about this industry. Why? Well, actually, in the US, they're more or less on their third wave of CCaaS solutions. End users have got it. They've understood it. It's a mature market. Here in our regions, across the pond, in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, well, 80% of the total addressable market is 80% still legacy. So that's a huge total addressable market for us. And that's a big decision, right? So these are folk who are saying, well, this is a big decision. We're going to move to cloud. How do you remove some of that uncertainty? Well, it goes a long way to say that actually CallTower is going to manage my Microsoft Teams as well as my Five9. I'll have this one, I'm going to refrain from using the phrase throat to choke. Let's use a positive spin on that. I'm going to have one back to pat through CallTower, right? And so suddenly the risk mitigation of having one partner to play in that field where they're managed service provider on UCaaS and CCaaS, Robs, becomes a lot more of a, I tell you what, we're going to do this, we're going to take this leap of faith, and we're going to go with Five9 and CallTower because, and I like that phrase, William, we're battle proven, right? We've done it. We've done it for 21 years, and we've done it together, more pertinently. So they're the guys I want to trust as we go forward. So that's the way I'd answer that one. Because outside of the US, gentlemen, partners are the most powerful go-to-market play we have.
Yeah, Thomas, I didn't know it was 80% over in Europe over there across the pond. So I think I'm going to have to rent a room in your house and just stay there for a while and try to get that number down.
Yeah, so exactly that. That's the reason why I'm in Frankfurt today, and Rob and me, we're jesting over this. It could be Madrid tomorrow. It could be, Europe is really taking off, and we're really excited about it, William. Yeah, depending who you ask, it's between 80% or 75 to 80% still.
Wow.
on premise. And by the way, of that 10% moved in the last 12 months. So we're talking about a real acceleration here.
Well,
Good stuff. Well, I'm totally sold on Microsoft Teams, CallTower, and Five9 in the mix here, and kind of taking it from, I suppose, looking at kind of customer experience processes from top down, taking this down to kind of agent level now into the agent experience, which is equally as important to get right nowadays. How do we kind of use these AI-powered gadgets, if you will, in Microsoft Teams to help improve the productivity and efficiency of agents and other workers within the workplace, I suppose? William, over to you.
Yeah, I think if you go back a few years, you're going to start, if everybody remembers the Great Resignation that they kind of referred to back in 2021. You had a lot of people, a lot of turnover, right, that were basically moving from one organization to another. And one of the trends that we saw coming out of 2021 was there was a lot of requests, and we've even seen this when we put out offer letters to potential employees on our end, is what tools are you using on the back end? Can I work in a hybrid environment, right? Can I be remote and so forth, coming to the office 2 or 3 days a week overall? So we started to see that trend really just become more of the norm. And I think when you look at that, and then when you look at the overall growth of organizations, the productivity is there because of the fact that we're providing the right efficiency tools for those office workers. And kind of going back to something that Thomas had mentioned earlier, is when you look at that gratification of that employee, that I'm sitting there and I'm taking those calls and it's a lot of redundancy, kind of low level information. I don't really want to deal with that. I want to be challenged in my organization for the most part. Most humans, most employees want to do that. So if I could shift that off right into, let's call it an IVA solution with some AI, and then I could really focus on working on customers that either have a real trouble or customers that really need more information. What we've seen, and we've talked to several CIOs and several organizations that are using the combination of Microsoft Teams with Five9 and with CallTower, is that their growth has increased, meaning that for every dollar they're spending, they're probably seeing a $2 or $3 return. And they're saying, yeah, I'm spending more within my AI and within my CCaaS, but my growth is going through the roof because my folks are being more efficient. And guess what? The attrition and the turnover also from an employee standpoint has substantially reduced because they're happier in what they're doing, and they're really seeing that they're adding value overall. So it's been really great to see that and kind of capture that that soft cost overall, because you don't really see it on the books overall, but you do see it when you see that growth at the end. So it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great story as well, and I love that, the fact that employees are happier, right? And if you've got happy agents, you've got happy customers ultimately. And it's a simple equation, right? So, Thomas, I mean, what's it look like at Five9?
Well, it's your turn to steal my line off me there, because that's just what I was about to say, which is that Rule 101 of humanity defines that if somebody's in a good place mentally, and I'm talking about the agent, who historically, it's a complaint center was a nickname for call centers, that's a tough gig. In fact, have either of you two ever been an agent, a contact center? I've never asked you to.
No, I'm not smart enough to
many
do
a
one.
contact center. so, I've never been on the phones though. No.
No. Okay, so I have. And I've got to tell you this, right? So Rule 101, as I was saying, was if that person's in a good state of mind, well, the chances of them delivering good customer care is infinitely high. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two. Well, having worked as an agent, chaps, the two things that I hated most was the beginning of the call, because you had to bring up all these screens and, what's going on? What's this customer? You didn't even have it back in my day, right? And the end part, the wrap up, the having to do all the notes. And, these were the two most annoying parts of being an agent. Today, AI Insights, for example, actually tells the agent, good chance that Rob Scott is calling in about his second flight, because at the moment he's just booked it to Ibiza, and we just need to figure out that he's got his second one back here, right? And so the insights gives them a much more powerful way of handling the call. And now with ChatGPT and the integration into the contact center, the wrap up is done for them. So you've suddenly got generative AI wrapping up the call far more accurate with it, because it is that repetitive task, it's that monotonous one that none of us like doing, done for by AI. Leaving the agent, as William saliently and clearly put, to do what they do best, which is, right, I'm going to deal with this customer's problem and give him a good experience. That's what I want to do, because if I give a good experience, by the way, there is an infinitely higher chance they're going to come back, number one. Number two, and tell a relative about this brand, because we all know how that works, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, you absolutely nailed it. I mean, with all this AI in the mix nowadays, it does feel like a hell of a challenge for organizations to take this kind of technology on board. I mean, what advice would you offer our audience and organizations out there looking to kind of tackle the AI piece of a contact center? What challenges might they face, and what advice would you give? William, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to align yourself with the right organizations that understand what AI could bring to your organization, right? I mean, there's a lot of folks out there advertising that, sure, we could sell you AI, but really work with the folks that you could kind of get under the hood, right? And understand what platforms they're working with, and really working with the leading brands that are out there, right? I mean, I think, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, when you look at the combination of Microsoft and you look at the combination of that with Five9 and leveraging the expertise that CallTower has had in working with Microsoft for 15, 16 years and with Five9 for about 7 years overall, we've had the partnership. It's really trying to make sure that we drive the right discovery to the customer. So it's really about educating yourself on the back end as a customer. It's not just going out there and buying something off the shelf. Those days are done, right? This is not about buying off the shelf and then just trying to plug it in and pushing it to your customers, but it's really making sure to understand how you could leverage it. And then a key component of this, which everybody kind of forgets, make sure you get the buy-in from all your different employees and your different groups. And that's really about educating them about why the change is being made, why we're integrating with AI, why we're integrating with Microsoft Teams and Five9 as an example. And I think that you get that buy-in and that experience on the back end, like Thomas John mentioned, is going to be much happier for the end user overall, but also for you for making that transformation because you've done your homework.
That's some great advice. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm a smooth transition for me, because for me it's, look, nobody said the world is, robots are taking over when calculators were introduced. And I'm going to show my age here. There were things called abacuses and sliders, right? Now, when calculators comes, it wasn't like the robots are taking over. It just makes us more efficient. And the same with the iPhone. It's just a powerful computer in your hand. And nobody said, the robots are taking over. It's not. I think so. The education process internally, number one, is a very strong point that William makes. That's something that we feel needs to be done. And I think just going forward, what we now need to do is, what I would say, I mean, it's a great question. And I'm trying to do this without selling Five9 per se and making this an industry trend type conversation, which is go with those who've done it before. Ask for referenceability. Like, I don't want to name the brand, but it's a famous pizza eatery that's online. We have an entire continent where they're doing 90% all on AI, right? And what's happening there is pizzas are being ordered, delivered, and in the belly. And when surveyed, 90%, so it's 90% of the folks didn't even know they hadn't spoken to a human. So when the survey was done afterwards, it's a shocking fact. Now they're going to roll it across Europe, this particular pizza retailer, and I'll share it with you guys if you want to contact me privately. Now they want to roll it across Europe because, well, it's phenomenally successful for them because a lot of it is pretty much transactional and is able to be done by AI. Now, Five9 have deployed that across one continent, and I could name you another, lots of examples. And I would say to users, go to those who've done it before, proven it. What's the term, William? Battle
tested or battle proven.
Tested, yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting, and there's lots to figure out, isn't there? And I suppose my final question for today to you both, and William, we'll go to you on first on this, but looking forward, kind of crystal ball moment. But what's the future of AI in UCaaS and CCaaS look like, and how's Microsoft Teams going to continue to evolve and stay ahead in this kind of ever changing landscape?
I think it's going to be a combination, Rob. I don't think it's going to be just Microsoft. I think it's going to be a combination of organizations like CallTower, Five9, and Microsoft really working together, but understanding, kind of like Thomas mentioned earlier, kind of staying in your lane, understand what you're good at, and making sure that you could continue to evolve that overall. So I just think when you look over the next few years, even just recently with the introduction of Microsoft Teams Premium and then Microsoft Teams Copilot, which was a big announcement just here over the last few days, I think when you start to look at that and what's going to happen is, what can I get more from the organizations that I trust, that I have been working with, because of the fact that they're staying ahead of what's currently going out there in the industry. And I think AI is going to continue to play a critical role on that. And really just understanding, goes back really to basics, understanding the customer demands and their requirements and making sure that you can stay ahead of it. I mean, I drive my product teams crazy with all the different ideas and so forth that I come up with, but I feel that that's part of what we have to do is challenging. And I think AI is going to play a critical part of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. No, thank you. And Thomas, what do you think?
You know what, and being the last question, I've got to try and tie it in with a theme, right? I've got to say, recently in Porto, Robert, you're going to get an official invite to our new R&D. We announced it.
This call is recorded, you realize.
You got it. And we had all our partners.
I haven't gotten my invitation, though. Sorry to interrupt, but where's my invitation?
Officially consider yourself invited right now. And I think we're all there with our partners, okay? And we had partners from every realm. And one night I came away from one of the social gatherings at the end of the evening. So you got the full day chock-a-block of agenda, but in the evenings we all just hung out together. And I saw every one of the partners getting on. Like William knows some of our key UK partners, Connect and OneCom. I've got Zendesk talking to BT. I've got ServiceNow involved. And here's why I'm saying all this. I think if we are going to ever figure out the holy grail of our industry, which is actually getting a contact center call answered first time and the quickest possible. That's all people want. They want their issue resolved, and they want it done as fast as possible. If we're going to get there, it's going to take a family to do it. It's going to take an orchestra to whistle this symphony. The CRM, the WFM, the Teams, the Five9, all under a CallTower managed service. If that's going well, double agent 8, 008, we will have, look, let's use the analogy.
I'll put these on now. For this part, should I put these on?
Put them on, Mr. Bond.
I look like Agent Scott 008 now.
Exactly that.
You do?
Mr. Bond will tell you, did he not require the help of Miss Moneypenny? Or I forget the guy who helped him with the weapons. The other person there was a team accomplishing, he was the face, he was the front for sure, James Bond was. But it takes an army of people behind to get to the final mission. So that's how I'd answer that question. AI is a critical component to that, but nevertheless, another component along the other jets that are going to make this force multiply.
Yeah.
Well, that's mission complete, I think. So I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. But William, Thomas, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Likewise.
Agent Scott, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in, and thanks for bearing with us with this James Bond 007 theme, but I hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you've got some good takeaways from today's session, and if you'd like to connect with Five9 and CallTower, I'm going to put some links in the description for you. So that's it from us. If you've enjoyed this session, subscribe, like, or even comment. It's always appreciated. I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.